I haven't been here in a while. They've changed the dining room. Something on your mind? Of course.
Hello again, friend. It looks as though you're no worse for wear after your stay in Fort Draken. It's located just off the Market District in the northern alley past the Nord Noble Tavern. I'll sketch out the code which will let you pass the lock wheel. Inside you can take your pick of whatever equipment remains. It is the stockpile the Wardens have kept for centuries for the defense of Denerim. We went through our joining together, more years ago than I like to remember. He was exactly the same back then, tough as stone and just as grizzled. I think he understood sooner than the rest of us how ugly a choice it is to let the few be sacrificed to protect the many. Always left himself a soft spot for his recruits, though. Only where he ever let himself down. Well, I'd be happy to tell you what I know, but it seems to me that you've picked the important parts up yourself. Be firm in your beliefs, protect people from their own ignorance, and be as loyal as you can to your brothers, even knowing you'll share their deaths. It's tough to say. Only the fortress in Weishaupt has every record. But there are certainly a few dozen or hundreds in every nation in Thedas. The Anderfells are home to over 1,000. It's almost like the Archdemon chose Ferelden deliberately, knowing how unguarded it is. Once only, and I'd rather not go again. It's far, lass, and very foreign. The Wardens there, they fight Darkspawn like you and me, but they're shaped by the winters there in the forest. They're a cold group and don't care like they should about the rest of the world. Their king is weak, and many Anders look to the Wardens to rule. I hate to say this, but some of them seem to want it that way. It was near 1,200 years ago, and no one knows for sure, except that it began with a group of Anders soldiers. Apparently, they defected from their king's army, vowing that fighting the Blight was more important, and traveled all the way to Tevinter themselves. They were the first ones to track down the Archdemon Dumat, and the ones to slay him, though none survived the battle. But they had picked up followers by then, and it was they who formally founded the Order, and were recognized by Thedas. Archdemons don't awaken on their own, you know. It takes the Darkspawn, tunneling and tunneling, searching for centuries to find one. And with no one to lead them, it must be sheer chance, or maybe instinct, which leads them. What's surprising isn't that it takes so long between blights. What's surprising is that they succeed at all. But I imagine the old gods call to them, and it's that voice in the darkness which drives them through so many generations. The important thing to remember is, none of that matters. When you're facing Darkspawn, all you need to know is to stop them at all costs.
I have heard. Howe is dead, is he not? On one hand, I feel relieved. On the other, I would have loved to be there, to see his face, to hear him beg for mercy. I swear to you, I've never felt such hate towards another being. I wanted to see him dead in a pool of his own blood. I wanted him to suffer, and I wanted him to die. I'm sorry, but I'm hardly proud of myself. Please, leave me alone with my thoughts for a little while.
Hello again, Warden. It is good that you came to speak with me. First, let me say that I knew your family. Eleanor, in particular, was dear to me, and what Hal did was unforgivable. How fitting he died at your hands. I will be blunt. I can see that your voice will be a strong one in days to come. It is to you that Eamon listens, and with good reason. My father must be stopped, but once that is done, Ferelden will need a ruler. I would welcome your support for my throne. That is exactly what I am proposing. When the time comes, you support my bid in the Landsmeet to remain on the throne. You will be seen as my father's enemy, yet you will be in support of his daughter. You will be seen as supporting the interests of Ferelden, as opposed to solely those of the Grey Wardens. In return, I add my voice to yours. Do you see? Together we can do what alone we cannot. Once I am queen, I will be in a position to grant you whatever you wish. And I shall. This is in addition to Highever being properly restored to you. That should go without saying, I trust. Alistair might promise you the same, I suppose. But I would ask which is better. The gratitude of a weak king, or of a strong queen. And even if it is not for you, think of what I could do for the Grey Wardens. Think of what I could do for your companions. I trust I have made my point. He is my father, as well as a great general, who has served his nation well until now. If there is a way for him to live, I would prefer it. I will always be my father's daughter, but even I know he must pay for his crimes. It will not make me glad, even so. Does that affect your decision? Can we yet come to an arrangement? Do you disagree? You are a fellow Grey Warden. What do you think of Alistair's potential to rule? Never mind his willingness. Alistair seems like a kind, well-meaning man, and biddable enough. These are admirable qualities, if not kingly ones. He also seems to be a fine Grey Warden, which is exactly why he should remain one and serve the kingdom by defeating the Darkspawn. Cailan knew of Alistair. It was Arl Eamon that kept Alistair out of the courts, as Merrick had desired. Oh, there are some who would follow Alistair out of respect for his Therin blood. The others would see this as Eamon grabbing for power. Who else do you think Alistair would turn to for help? Eventually, the nobility would return to the old days of constant warring with each other. Alistair's weakness would destroy everything Merrick built. My feelings towards Alistair have nothing to do with it. I barely know him. I simply believe that I am what this country needs. I will fight for what I believe. Would Alistair do the same? What say you then? Your support for mine in the Landsmeet? Ignoring that the man looks so much like Cailan, my recently dead husband, if you'll recall, my main fear is that he might govern like Cailan as well. But it is true that Alistair has Therin blood. To some, this is more important even than practical considerations. A union might be considered a compromise, but is this something Alistair even desires? Let me say this. If Alistair is willing to stand back and allow me to continue governing the nation, then I would be willing to have him as my king. It is my understanding that governing does not appeal to him anyhow. If that is so, this is a compromise I can live with. Do you foresee me agreeing to place an untried, unwilling man on the throne otherwise? One whose largest decisions to date have consisted of which shoe to put on first? If it will settle matters more quickly, I am willing to agree to this. But only if it will benefit Ferelden. Do so. I will be interested to hear what he has to say.
Warden, let me know if there's any assistance I can give you. We have much to do and little time. We need to do all that we can in the few days left to us before the lands meet.
So I'm guessing someone told Honora I was planning to steal her throne. She has a nasty glare. Did anyone mention this wasn't my idea? I think she's a great queen. As far as I'm concerned, she's welcome to it. Not without embarrassing Arl Eamon. Oh, by the way, that whole duty thing, could we just ignore that? His sister is who my father cheated on to make me, yet he still took me in. He was good to me, not because I was a good backup plan. But I wonder if he feels differently now that Honora is here. What do you think I should do? Go ahead and be king, just to let it happen? Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? Did you take a blow to the head? That's crazy. Maybe you're right. I hate it when you're right. Go ahead then. Tell her I'll do it if it comes to that. Excuse me while I go have a small heart attack somewhere. No big deal, right?
Well, have you spoken to my lucky betrothed yet? Or will we be reduced to passing notes? He has? I wasn't expecting that, to tell you the truth. To marry Kaelin's brother. Well, I suppose stranger things have happened. If it will truly help matters... Is this it then? I agree to marry Alistair to retain my throne, and in exchange I give you my support. If not, then tell me now. Done. So, we have a deal, Warden. I trust you'll keep your end of the bargain. Now, I suppose, comes the task of dealing with my father. That will be no small feat, of course, but I am certain you already know this. I imagine you have much to do. Is there anything else you needed from me? No. And while I know your concern is hardly disinterested, still, thank you.